Hello again, blokes. You're here with Dave on NZBlokes.co.nz as we take a closer look at the latest big release in gaming. It is, of course, none other than Bungie's latest shooter cum MMO hybrid, Destiny. This $500 million baby is meant to represent a new direction for community-based shooter games. Considering that this is the first new release for Bungie since they handed over the Halo series to Microsoft's 343 Studios, it's also a pretty big deal for them. Now, the short story is that you play a guardian, a defender of a future Earth. You're awoken by your ghost, voiced by Peter Dinklage of the Game of Thrones series, and thrust headfirst into an epic battle of light versus dark. It's about that simple. Once you're in the game, you get a couple of warm-up missions to find some key items which allow you to venture out to planets and moons in the solar system, and then you're introduced to the alternative game modes that are offered as a part of the wider experience of Destiny. You will see some MMO-esque experiences creep in here, with patrol missions, events, instances and strikes, as well as one proper raid so far. As well as this, you'll bump into other players as you head to your various objectives on the planets that you find yourself on. Character progression is pretty rapid, and if you're just following along in the storyline, you'll quite happily find yourself at the level 20 marker by the end of the initial single-player experience. Any further levels from this point come as a result of acquiring legendary or exotic gear, which can either be acquired from some of the NPCs in the tower, which serves as your main social base, or are dropped at random by enemies in the form of engrams. Now, there's a lot to like about this game. Naturally, the shooting aspect of the game is very solid, as you'd expect. The character powers fit nicely together, and you'll always get the most out of this game when you're playing it with friends. It's unusual of Bungie to make most missions a 3-player experience instead of the more standard 4, but this is a very minor gripe. Graphically, it's very easy on the eye. Even on the humble Xbox 360, it looks and plays well. Next-gen iterations look spectacular, as you'd expect. The sound and music also enhance the immersion, making you feel suitably heroic as you blast your way through the environments that you've been given to play with. Now, there are a few growing pains here and there as well. The endless quest for better loot will have you repeating a few key missions, not to mention grinding for materials to upgrade your high-level gear once you've got it. A mandatory internet connection to play the game, as well as the occasional server dropout mid-mission, and no ability to pause the game can spell trouble on occasion to boot. Multiplayer modes also naturally favour the players with better gear, despite player level balancing being implemented, which can be really frustrating at times. Bungie is actively listening to this first wave of player feedback and tweaking the game as it evolves, so like many of the games that we see these days, we can expect to see balancing patches iron out these wrinkles. Bungie has committed to a long future with this game, which makes me think that even though it is not quite as amazing as the hype engine would have you believe it is, this is still a superbly presented, fun and engrossing game which deserves a place in your game collection, whether it be PlayStation or Xbox, old or new. For me, this gets a respectable 9 out of 10. Thanks for listening, blokes. This has been Dave.